and welcome to this new beginning that I'm very excited to start. I've started a new community which I'm going to be guiding people through a interesting process that I've learned over the last 30 years, just to see if I can help everybody see if they can make a difference in their life. So the first question I want to ask everybody is, and it's often the way I try to have a look at measuring things in life. I often ask people out of 10, how are they doing? So if I was to ask you out of 10, how confident are you that you consider your life to be successful? Now, there's certain semantics that we can have a look at and which we can change. So to define what success is, I'm going to have a look at that a little bit later. But if you're not scoring an 8, a 9, or a 10 out of 10 in terms of I'm super confident that I'm going to be considering my life to have been successful, then that's maybe one of the reasons why you're here. And it is something to consider to see how we can make a change with that. One of my greatest things that I've learned is how to implement change for me. So I've taken everything that I've learned and I've created this framework to see exactly what I can do to make a difference in my life. And then I wanted to see if I can share that with everyone else. So when we have a look at where we are, so to speak, and where we want to be, often we have a look at, just metaphorically, we'll talk about going from A to B. And there are various reasons why people are on this call to come and learn, curiosity, various things like that. But most of the times, people are going to be faced with some sort of pain that they're thinking they can make an improvement in their life. Yes, there's often curiosity. So you may be curious, like, what is Brett going to be talking about? You may have liked some of the things that I've said, but let's have a look and see if we can define who and what you are and why you're here. So certain people have been speaking to me, and whenever a person comes to me with questions to be asked, they're faced with unsurety, or they're unsure in their life. They're dissatisfied, they're unhappy, they have no aim in their life. Life may be meaningless, life sucks, or there's some degree to life that sucks. And I'm not talking about being unhappy with challenges in life, but just that life sucks. And I've heard a few people say, what the hell is the point? So what I want to do is to introduce you to the possibility that you don't have to continue life like this if this is for you. So what I'm looking at is, when we have a look at success is a very, there are many ways that we can define success, or even have a look at trying to understand it. Is it happiness? Is it joy? Is it fun? Is it gratification? So when we have a look at that, there are various ways that people have shared that with me. One of them is we want fulfillment in our life, meaning, and there are various different ways we can look at that. Purpose, satisfaction, happiness, joy. And if that is success, then there are ways that we can build a framework to give ourselves the chance that we can create this, or at least start to move the needle in that direction. And that is what I'm looking to do. So my biggest thing is, when we have a look at success, it's coming from a place where you're unhappy to a place where you're looking to improve on that. And what does that look like? What does the process look like? Is there a process? Is there a recipe? What can we do for that? My definition of success and how I look at it is progressive realization of a worthy goal, which means, are we doing the things, the steps along the way that are giving us the recipe, so to speak? So are you getting that right, that right, that right? So I'm going to go through a few things in terms of what I understand it is to create success. And if you're going through your life, I'm going to show you with what we're going to discuss today, have you got the confidence in a framework, in a philosophy, in a structure that you actually do that? Or are you sort of letting life run you? So most of us get exposed to this life, and I'm going to show you a little story now that we don't actually get to choose where we are and who we are and how our brain works and the processes that we use as human beings. So one of those is a framework that I've looked at building for that. It's taken me 30 years of banging my flippin' head against the wall to see how I've been able to create a system. And I've just taken everything I've learned, little bits from all over the place, and I've created a very, very specific structure to see if I can make a difference in other people's life. I firmly believe, and this is something that I want to just express with a lot of vigor here, is I have 100% confidence that if people follow the framework and they implement even just some of the things that we go through, that there will absolutely be change in their life. Learning, doing, getting into action, all of these things absolutely, when implemented, can make a change. And I am so confident in that I want to provide this community so that people can be interacting with it, with all the stuff that I've learned. If I had this at the age of 19, 25, 30, even at 40, I would have been able to have a completely different life. And I'm hoping then to impart some of this knowledge and all of the headaches and banging my head. My hair is not like this because I came here on the back of a bucky. It's because I've been banging my head so much. Joking. So this framework that I've put together, I've called the Anatomy of Success. And it's going to involve, like you saw in the picture there, it's going to involve 9 different steps. And I'm going to go through the first step today so that you can see that. I just wanted to share one more thing with you so that you can see when we have a look at how we thought life was supposed to be. So as you can see in this diagram, most of the times we set out in life and we expect life to be like this, A to B, simple, easy. Well, that's how I grew up anyway, whether it's Hollywood or just my expectation, show up and life will be awesome. But that's not necessarily how it is in reality. As you can see, the image below here, life does not turn out the way it is. And I do think that that's how it's supposed to be. As Brené Brown says, we are hardwired for struggle. And I think it is us as human beings, as we're going through that struggle, the person or the people that we become is what life is about. So that is a very good reflection. And my point is, do you have a framework or a guide or anyone to be helping you along the way like this in the times of struggle so that you can actually go through this with the confidence? Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but someone or something or some process to guide you through this so that you can get to the end where you can define life as successful for yourself. So I'm going to go through a very simple story now. That's a metaphor for how we have got to this place in life. Now, I'm going to take a bit of water because this is one hell of a journey that we're going to go on. And remember that this is a metaphor to how we got here and how we started in life and how we got to be who we are. So, picture yourself at the very start of life's journey, dropped into the heart of the South African wilderness. The fynbos stretches thick and relentless, thorny branches scratching at your skin, the ground itself uneven and littered with stones that dig into your feet with every uncertain step as you begin this journey. There is heat. The heat is oppressive, bearing down on you like a weight on your shoulders. Each footfall takes effort. Every step feels like dragging yourself through mud. You're alone, painfully aware of your isolation, with nothing but the ceaseless buzz of insects and the dry rustle of wind to keep you company. And this is how life begins. There's no map, there's no clear path, just a vast expanse of harsh terrain, and only the vague sense that you should keep moving forward. But where forward actually leads, you have no idea. As you push on, doubt begins to cloud your thoughts. You start wondering, is there even a right direction? The uncertainty gnaws at you and an unsettling feeling of vulnerability sinks in. There's no way to know what lies ahead, no comfort in familiar landmarks, just you and the wilderness and the faint hope that something might be out there. Then far off in the distance, you glimpse an outcrop of rocks, a sliver of something solid in a sea of hostile underbrush. Your spirits lift, but only slightly. A landmark, a goal, a place to rest. Anything to break the monotony and give you a sense of direction. Heart pounding, you start making your way towards it. Each step feeling heavier than the last. As you wrestle through the fynbos, branches scratching at your face and arms snagging on your clothes, as if the very land itself wants to hold you back. But just as you get closer, a sudden rustle in the bushes nearby. The sound sends a shockwave through your body, setting your instincts alight. Your chest tightens and you freeze, your eyes wide open, scanning the shadows. What is out there? You can't see what made the noise. You can't identify the threat. The fear of the unknown sinks its claws into you. And every nerve in your body tells you to turn around, to get away before something bad happens. Get the hell out of there. It's safer to avoid it altogether. You turn your back on the rocks and you move away. The weight of a missed opportunity clinging to a fragile sense of security. And as you trudge on, the weariness intensifies. There's no shade, there's no water, and you're exhausted. Every breath feels heavy. But somewhere along the way you bend down and instinctively you pick up a rock, just a small one, something solid to grip. It won't protect you from everything, but it feels reassuring in your hand, a crude defense against whatever might leap from the shadows. A little bit further along you find a stick. You pick it up too, feeling its weight, feeling more prepared now. The rock, the stick, these are your companions. A little bit of armor, a little bit of defense, a thin veil of protection against you in an unforgiving world. There's something at least, even if you don't ease the strain of your journey. You tell yourself, you're stronger now. You can handle this. But the journey doesn't let up. The sun dips a little bit lower and the shadows stretch longer and weariness starts to invade your bones. Ahead you see something different. There's a tree, a rare sight. Its branches are broad and spreading, a promise of shade and respite. Relief floods through you for a moment. You take a deep breath. You can almost feel the coolness on your skin. You can almost smell the earth under its canopy, and you step closer, eager for the sanctuary. But then, a memory, a nagging warning creeps into your mind. Trees? What is it about trees? They conceal dangers. The unknown stirs that same primal caution, and you hesitate. You hesitate. Someone, sometime, something You remember about trees. What was it? You can't remember, but you know it's not safe. You turn away, telling yourself that the shade wasn't worth the risk. Better to stay on your path, to keep moving forward, even though forward feels endless and punishing. And as you press on, weary but resolved, you stumble upon something unexpected. A river cutting through the wild landscape. The water sparkles under the sun, cool and inviting, flowing with a gentle melody that feels like a balm to your strained spirit. For the first time in what seems like ages, you feel a sense of calm wash over you. Kneeling by the bank, you cup your hands and drink. The cold water refreshes your body and sharpens your mind. You take a moment to rest, letting your legs dangle in the stream, feeling the current swirl around you, massaging away the tension. The fynbos even seems a bit softer here, and the tall grasses sway gently as if nodding to a rhythm they can only hear. You pause long enough to notice birds singing, and a breeze rustles through, carrying a hint of wildflowers. In this moment, with the river flowing and the land momentarily kinder, you feel a glimmer of joy, a rare and precious gift in this arduous journey. And with that, a little lighter, and you rise and set off once more, carrying the small taste of peace with you. And you walk on, day blending into day, your mind weary, your spirit dulled. Until later in the evening, as the light starts to fade, you spot a mountain range in the distance, far in the distance. Towering, majestic, full of mystery and promise. There's a pull to your chest, a whisper of something grander calling to you. This could be the reason for all of this. Why you're here, the purpose that finally justifies the struggle. And with fresh determination, you set your sights on it. But as night falls, those mountains seem far, far, far away, distant and unreachable. The journey's too long. And as the last light fades, you realize it's too late and you are forced to give in for the day. And you tell yourself, I'll do it again tomorrow. I'll try tomorrow. I'll get there. So the next day, you start all over again. You start on the journey, and it's just as hard, but maybe a little bit familiar, because you can't remember. There's a little guidance, there's a bit of a path, some familiarity, but you can't place it, and you think to yourself, have I been here before? But you can't stay and linger. You must move on because you know there's something to be done. The slight vague excuse for a path. You see the rocks again and you yearn. A beacon of change, variety, novelty, maybe even a change, definitely. And you veer away again because of the rustle, familiar but disturbing. And there's soon forgotten hope of the rest and the comfort that it may allure. Picking up once again sticks and the stones, giving you that sense that seems to have worked before, and you continue forging this path of familiarity. And then again you see the tree with what seems to have fruit on it. Yes. Some reward for this painful journey. But inside you again there's this pang of fear and you just can't place it. But it's there. And the lure of a better life. Shade. And sustenance and protection and safety fades away as your fear takes you away from it again and you struggle. Heavy feet, stooped shoulders, baked by the sun, and the clothes and the skin torn and tattered by the pull of life. By the people. Thorns and the fynbos. Sound familiar? You stop again at the cool river and drink and rest, and there's some kind of pleasure, but you know you have to move on. And once again in the distance, the mountains. And the rivers and the glades at their base, cold moss waiting to cool you down and for you to quench your thirst in the bubbling brooks. But it's so far away. And before you know it, the heaviness of the day overpowers you and you stop as night falls and you can't go any further. You're tired, You have no energy and you feel your feet are like burning embers and your body's aching all over. And it's the end of the day. And so it goes on, day after day, again and again and again, going through this path because it's the known. From the familiar, the rock and the stick become extensions of who you are, your hands and your tools, clinging to them without thinking. The landmarks you know to avoid. Memories you carry, reminders of the dangers that you chose to leave alone and leave unseen. And over time, this path, this routine becomes more than just a way through the wilderness. It becomes the definition of your journey, the shape of who you are. It becomes who you are. It becomes you, guarded, isolated, trudging forward in a world where every turn away from the familiar feels way too risky, and you stay on the beaten track. Without realizing it, you've crafted a life from these choices and these patterns. The safe path, the detours from the discomfort, the familiar burden of protection. The path has become not just your way through the wilderness, but is the very story of who you are. This is you, and this is your life. Does that sound familiar? I'm sure it does. So, a few things about this that you may not know, but this is how our life happens to us. And the key that I want to say is that to first understand, before you go somewhere else, you need to know where you have started. And this is the beginning. This is who you are and how you became you. Your defense patterns, your patterns. Your life is defined by all of the things that happened to you. And there are a few key points about this that I want to cover so that you understand. And then we can start to see how we can choose a different life, if that is something that you want. Now, the first thing you need to understand is we did not get to choose this. This happened to us. We got exposed to this. The rocks are our genetic proclivities to fear things. The tree is our mothers, fathers, preachers, and teachers of things that we've been told to fear. We haven't experienced it ourselves, but it's often the belief system that we're given by other people, by other things, by people, places, things, times, events. The rocks are a deeply innate neurological process that makes us want to be safe and not die and stay with the tribe and all of those things. The stones and the sticks are our defense patterns that we found to protect ourselves. And then all of these things are ways that we define who we are. Now, when we teach this, I often use examples of me. So in life, I've found to be a few things in terms of how I define myself. And this is a thing that you can go and look at for yourself, is these patterns that we develop, these so-called masks that we wear, these ways that we show up in the world and put ourselves in public, in other people's eyes, how they perceive us, is patterns that make us safe. So in my instance, I've often been known as a joker and a jester and a funny guy. So I was looking up at all the Mr. You know, the Mr. Men, Mr. Strong, Mr. This, Mr. Right, Mr. Happy. So I'm always trying to make fun. I'm often a Mr. Know-it-all because that's how I've developed my way of feeling safe in the world. And all of these ways that we show up in the world have pros and have cons. There's no one way that is the best way for anyone in the world. There's always, always, always going to be pros and cons when it comes to that. So when we have a look at the path, once again, there's pros and cons, there's threats. But, you know, our life is not filled with pain and suffering all the time. There are moments where life is there are pleasures. And the path is not all bad, but it's just the path. You know, there are pros and cons to the defense patterns here. The first thing is you don't die when you go away from something that might be a threat. Genetically, we're built like that because if we went towards the rustling bushes from a Darwinian perspective, those are the people that died. Those are the cavemen that died. So these are pros and cons that we have in our lives. Some of the other things about the path is there's not a single right path to be on for you or for anyone else. There's no single way to be in the world. There's no good or bad. There's just ways that you can choose to be, and there are advantages and disadvantages. Oftentimes, I'm very good at arguing because I believe my way is always right. So if I'm Mr. Right, there are a lot of things in the world that I want to be right about. So I'm going to study about it and then I'm going to argue about it so I can be right in the world that people like me. But it's not always advantageous because there are times when being Mr. Right is not the best thing. Relationships. Other things, so also when I'm trying to be funny all the time, it's not always appropriate. And there are times where I've made my name really gat when I've tried to be funny in inappropriate times. Obviously, I've grown up a little bit now, but I'm still growing up. And every one of these ways that we are in the world comes at a cost. So being Mr. Right, great things here, and negatively in the other way. Being Mr. Nice Guy, often I'm concerned that people need to like me. So being a nice guy all the time is like smile, smile, smile. And sometimes it's difficult for me to have difficult conversations because I want everyone to like me, and I don't necessarily confront people or stand up for myself. So it's once again pros and cons. Another thing about the journey is this is built like this for a reason, okay? And it's hard to change. You've heard the adage, you can't teach old dogs new tricks, or a leopard doesn't change its spots. I have said that to someone, they said, yes, but it can start to lick them, change the shape of the spots. So it's just another thing. It is difficult to change because often this is a hardwired process for very specific reasons, and it's a protective mechanism, but sometimes it doesn't serve us. We now have the opportunity to change. So one of the stories I wanted to tell, and my mom is on this call, so I'm going to be very aware that at my 21st birthday, I'd been studying in Stellenbosch and I was in Johannesburg. I'm a family, we had a family of 4 boys, so my mom and my dad, and I was second, so we were all, it was 25, 21, 18 and 16, something like that. And my mom came to me and said, Brett, you are the glue that holds this family together. And I mean, besides being flattered, it was something that freaked me out completely. And I didn't want that sort of responsibility. And it didn't feel like my mom was putting that responsibility on me, but I didn't want to be that. So the point of that is we get to choose through our conscious awareness of what we want. We get to choose. It's not easy, and that's why getting success and satisfaction and purpose and meaning in our life is not easy, because the easy path is the convenient food. But if we are wanting to go into those mountains, we can. We just need to choose, and we need to be aware of our choices. And then that's when it becomes hard. So I then chose over time. I wasn't aware at that time, but I then decided I didn't want that. I had some personal development that I went through, and I said I was not going to be the glue that held the family together. Since then, I've sort of become the bad cop, and my younger brother's the good cop. So it's far more powerful for me. I can stand up to my brothers. I can say no. I can do various things. And once again, that comes at a cost. I've chosen that path, but it has cost me my relationship with my one brother, because I've held my ground and I've stopped being diplomatic about stuff, but it has cost me. So with my being right all the time and being, being not affirmative, being confident in my way, I've now maybe not ruined, but I have jeopardized the relationship with my brother. So there are costs that come with that. Most of the times, in hard times, when we are challenged, we are likely to fall back onto our defense patterns, our old habits. And that is another arduous thing to do, is that when we know what our defense patterns are and we're pushed, we've got to understand that our defense patterns are running, and they might be running our lives, and they've been running our lives for very good reasons. They've defended us. They've stopped us going into dangerous areas that we don't know and things that we've been told to stay away from. We can now choose to see and respond without it being a defense pattern, but to be something more conscious and more aware. So a lot of times in life, we told, and our expectation is life is but a dream. And we go ahead, and I'll happily put my hand up and say, I did not think life was going to be this hard, and that I would show up. Even when I was studying to be a chiropractor, I'm like, okay, chiropractic is so awesome. We're going to study chiropractic. We're going to open a practice, and the world will come. And got a proper hiding with those expectations. And instead of life being a breeze like it is in this picture, oftentimes this is what life looks like. Now, once again, these are not all bad things, but they are sometimes things that come to challenge us. One of the things that I've often spoken to with my friends and with various coaching things is we want to live life fully expressed. And that means difficulties are going to happen. Are they supposed to happen? I don't think life is meant to be a breeze. I do believe that challenges come for specific reasons. And in stepping up to these challenges, we become different people. And by doing hard things and struggling through this, we become evolving beings. So in order to go through life to create some form of success, I firmly believe we need some sort of a process. So I've put together this process called the Anatomy of Success. That's a 9-step process, very carefully thought out and very carefully crafted to give you the best opportunity that you can go through life and actually move forward through the struggles with absolute guidance and structure to create whatever it is that you believe to be successful in your life. In terms of creating success, so the first step is what we've just gone through now, and that is understanding the path in terms of how we've gotten here. Sorry, that's bad English. How we have become who we are. The second step is the bear compass. The third is to how we define our happiness, and that's having a look at the things that we value in life. That's the foundation for everything. And in this community that we're going to be opening and inviting you to join, and this is the free community that we're opening up to have all of this information on there. The basis of everything and the foundation of everything is this, plus what I'm going to go through next week is how we actually create results through a very simple understanding with how the brain works and how we put into action steps to create success in our life. The third is going into a much deeper thing in terms of discovering specifically who we are. So now you understand the path, but then we go into various personality assessments to actually say, who are you? Are you outgoing? Are you introverted? Are you open to things? Are you more neurotic? So we use various programs. I'm sure you guys have all heard of the Enneagram. So there's Enneagram, there's the Wealth Dynamics, there's all sorts of profiling that we do to understand ourselves better, and we take people through that. And then we look at understanding how the brain works in terms of our emotional decoder. It's a very, very important thing, because a lot of the times we're on this path, various emotions get us to behave in various different ways. So we go through understanding what our brain is trying to tell us and how it's trying to protect us. Then when we have a look at clarity for success, we look at defining our success, actually looking at what life's going to look like in the short term, but we look more towards the medium to long term. We firmly believe that the process, if you get yourself into a process, that's where the success lies. It's not lying in the outcome. I want to be living a beautiful life from Monday to Sunday and not just living for the weekend. So there are various steps that we have a look at in clearing up how we define success. And there's so many beautiful ways that we go through this, and such cool introspection and discovery. That's why we call it the discovery phases. You get to know yourself so much better, and there's huge ahas. I mean, I've had some amazing breakthroughs just understanding who I am and how my brain works, my defense patterns, my weaknesses, and parts where I could be stronger and parts where I'm really strong. So it's really cool. And it's also so lucky in terms of understanding other people. So if you're in a relationship, it's really meaningful to get to understand how someone else's brain ticks so that you can dance this dance of life in a far more constructive way. And then the third phase is actually putting this all together to get stuff done, to get actioning, and to do all of the things that you need to do in order to get success out of life. I had a lot to do to prepare myself for this webinar and to get into the right state. And there are two things that I did in the last 48 hours to get myself into a cool state. And it's part of the things that I've built specifically so that I know that every day I'm in a great state, that whatever happens to me, I'm at my best state to respond to the world. So my children are doing exams at the moment. My one son's back from boarding school, and there are all sorts of other things that are happening. The wind was blowing yesterday. I had about an hour. I thought, and I haven't kite surfed this season. I went home, got my kites, went and smashed out an hour's kiting session, felt on top of the world, and got a hell of a lot done because of that. So, all because I know that my actions that I need to do to get me into the state, I know exactly what I needed to do. So that's what the action planner does. And then just before I started this webinar, I raced home just to give my wife a big hug and my 2 children, because they are the inspiration for a lot of stuff that I do. Family for me is huge. And once again, that's been part of the process that I've put in place, that through my value system, I know that they are going to make me a better person so that I can show up better. So I went home, gave them a big hug, and then came back here in a really good state. I don't believe anyone can get true success and change, because it's so hard to change this hardwired path without some deep accountability. And there are ways that we build accountability into this process so that people can do what they said they're going to do. Something like 96% of all New Year's resolutions don't make it to February. And it's because people do not have a clear system and a why behind all of this. And then the 9th step is we have a look at amplifying everything that we've done and applying it to all different parts of our life. I do this process. I used to do it once a year, and it wasn't often enough. So I do it on my birthday, and I do it on my half birthday, so that I make sure that I'm absolutely crystal clear that I'm building the life that I want to live. So that is pretty much all that I wanted to go through to show you today. Show you where you are, show you how you got to where you are and who you are and how your life was created and how your personality was created and all of the patterns that you have in your life and how your brain works. The next step is the Bear Compass, which shows you exactly how we make decisions and how we move forward and how we create goals and targets and outcomes. I really look forward to seeing you there and seeing us make a big difference in your life.